2016 Honda RC213V S. Interest in race replica models is beginning to wane in favor of the more public road-oriented naked bikes and street fighters, but you'd never know it looking at the work Honda put into the RC213V S. The S is based on Honda's RC213V factory race bike currently competing in the MotoGP circuit, and it is important to mention here that this is the bike that carried Honda to the Riders, Constructors and Team Championships in both 13 and 14. While this isn't quite a straight-up race bike with turn signals, it's a fairly faithful reproduction and is as close as you will find among the production bikes on the road today. Let's face it, to unleash a 100% genuine race bike on the public would be irresponsible at best, and criminal at worst, so the factory had to nerf it just a little bit. These bikes are hand-built by specially trained mechanics using model-specific tools at a rate of 1 unit per day, part of the reason for the limited edition run. Join me while I see how close to that line the Red Riders dance with this awe-inspiring machine. Honda's mission statement for the S states that the intended purpose of development is to allow riders who aren't professional racers to experience much of what the pros do. Wind tunnel-tested fairings are of an entirely purpose-driven design for maximum penetration, minimum resistance, and the rest of the body panels serve to reduce drag along the length of the bike. In order to keep weight down, the body panels are made up of layers of carbon fiber that is thick where it has to be for strength and thinner everywhere else. Centralization of mass seems to have been the engineer's mantra when laying out the S. They moved the fuel tank toward the rear and placed it directly beneath the rider, and when all other considerations are factored in, the center of gravity is just above axle level and slightly forward of center for a remarkably low inertial mass. What this means is that the bike will roll and yaw without having to fight its own weight, so it will flick into corners with great enthusiasm and perform steering reversals with little in the way of hesitation. Based on the available metrics, what we have here is a liter bike that handles better with less apparent mass than production bikes with engines half that size. Lest you think such maneuverability is a waste at anything less than WFO, the effects of the weight layout can be felt even at moderate speeds and under street riding conditions. In short, you get to feel the same surgical precision as do the pros, and you get to feel it while puttering around town or carving up back roads. No need for a closed-circuit track. Speaking of carving, the foot pegs can be mounted in one of 6 positions on the frame so you can get your feet tucked in just like you like them, but you will have to spring for the inverse shift drum that comes with the sports kit if you want the upside-down, GP-style shift pattern. The kit also comes with everything you need to turn the S into a genuine, closed-circuit race machine with none of the relative street-friendliness of the stock model. To call the aluminum diamond frame construction process labor-intensive would be an exercise in understatement. The various pieces are meticulously machined and welded, and every one of the titanium alloy fasteners gets a dab of molybdenum before going under the torque wrench for final assembly, a step taken to try and ensure consistent results. Although dirt bikes can benefit from a little bit of torsional flex in the frame, bikes like the S are all about rigidity under acceleration, so Honda took steps to boost strength in that axis while keeping weight down with thinner stock in the non-crucial areas. While the S doesn't get the RC213V's adjustable steering head that allows for changes to the rake angle sans cutting torch, it does get the same adjustable and variable steering damper as the open category RCV1000R as well as the adjustable steering stops from the RC213V. The swing arm represents a compromise between strength, weight location and the need to make room for the oddly shaped fuel tank. An all-aluminum fabrication, it relies on an underslung, triangular brace for the extra strength and rigidity needed to handle the forces placed on it, and the placement of the brace keeps that extra weight as low as possible, just one of the many things the factory did to reduce the overall inertial mass. Öhlins supplies the inverted front forks complete with its TTX25 pressurized cartridge technology that provides better tire contact feel and control through a shorter damping build-up time when the stroke changes direction. In back, we have Öhlins again with a coil-over, piggyback, GP-spec, TTX36 monoshock on a ProLink mount that comes with a knurled knob for quick preload adjustments. That's the good news. The bad news is that the suspension must be regularly maintained by qualified technicians to remain in peak condition, but it's not alone in this respect, and is to be expected on a bike like this. Since one can never be guaranteed of having dry riding conditions and most folks don't have the luxury of completely changing your brakes every time the weather changes, the S comes with stainless steel discs instead of carbon like the V runs in dry weather. Dual, 4-pot, opposed piston Brembo calipers bind the front discs, and the sports kit allows for adjustments to brake lever play as well as braided metal lines to combat pressure variation due to hose flex. Marchesini makes the forged magnesium rims, and Bridgestone supplies the 17-inch RS10 hoops. Honda modified its race-winning 999cc RC213V engine for use in the S, but really didn't nerf it as badly as they might have. Originally designed in an effort to cram a 1000cc mill into the space taken up by an 800-cube plant, the engine runs a 90-degree V4 configuration set in a transverse orientation in the frame. Dual overhead cams time the 4 titanium valves in each head, but instead of the pneumatic valve closure system used by the V, a set of conventional coil springs close the poppets. Before you grumble, this was actually done for the owner's convenience because the pneumatic system is even more high maintenance than the early days melodromic systems, and ain't nobody got time for that. Another change with the S motor involves the valve train drive and idler gear adjustment, namely that there actually is adjustment. A set of adjustable idler gears allows you to adjust gear lash without having to size and change the gear out for another size. While this doesn't reduce the maintenance headache of maintaining proper lash, it does make it cheaper to keep up with. The S comes with the same power selector function as its racing brother that changes the way the engine responds to inputs from the throttle-by-wire system depending on which of the 3 profiles you have selected. Additionally, the S runs Honda's selectable torque control (HSTC) system that functions more or less as a traction control system that monitors wheel speeds and intervenes when slip is detected. The level of slip and intervention is determined by which of the 9 setting you choose. Wet, hydraulic-powered, slip and assist clutches are fairly common, but the S runs a dry clutch, so Honda designed a mechanical cam system to perform the same job when accelerating and decelerating, with a centrifugal hub lock for starting. Oh yeah, speaking of starting, unlike the full race bike version, the S comes with its own onboard starter. Bet you're glad to hear that. The clutch feeds engine power to the constant mesh, cassette-style, 6-speed transmixer, and one very strong chain makes the final connection to the rear wheel. In the end, all of this delightfulness gives us a total of 101 horsepower and 66 pound-feet of torque at 8,000 revolutions per minute. Naturally, absolute top speed will be affected by environment and skill, but you can count on over 200 miles per hour from this rocket of the crotch. Yeah, it's stupid fast. Nuff said. Bikes of great capability are usually priced well out of the range of the entry level, and so the sticker acts as a firewall of sorts. Having said that, the $184,000 tag on the RC213V S will likely be a stumbling block for the vast majority of us. Just so we're clear, that is not a typo, and you can indeed count on dropping nearly 200 large if you fancy one of the 400 units out of the limited production run. Many companies offer some sort of race replica model for their die-hard fans. Frequently they do little more than borrow the race team livery and run a nerfed version of the race engine. Koi has its Ninja ZX-10R ABS KRT edition, or the H2R, Yamaha offers its YZF-R1M, and I suppose the Suzuki GSX R1000 fits the bill as well, but none are quite as race-tastic as the S, and none come close to having the same shock value at checkout. Bottom line is, anyone looking for a ride like the S is not liable to be looking at these other bikes at all. Not unless that sticker scares them back into the less expensive brackets, that is. It's nice to dream, though.